In today's video, I want to go over my top 5 favorite rifle purchases that I acquired in this last calendar year. So what I really like about all these rifles are they're very unique in their own way. They're all different calibers, they all have different backstories, they all serve different purposes. I was looking at how many guns I actually bought this year. Dude, I'm embarrassed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But to narrow it down to my top 5, dude, it was tough.
How much did you spend on guns this year?
Oh, I don't know if I should say that either. Let's just say the ATF came to my house at the 120,000 mark. First up on the list, the Gilboa Snake. I really like this thing. It's just not practical. It seriously has no real purpose. This thing is kind of weird. It's extremely heavy, it's kind of bulky. When I first read about these rifles, or the concept of having 2 barrels and 2 triggers in one platform, I had to get one. Now what makes this thing actually legal to shoot, according to the ATF, is that it does have 2 separate trigger mechanisms. So if you pull the right side of the trigger, it'll just shoot the right barrel. If you pull the left side trigger, it'll just shoot the left trigger. So there are 2 independent bolt carrier groups in this platform shooting independently of each other. That is why it is legal, and that is why the ATF allows us to have such weird contraptions. At one point, I actually had 2 of my forced reset triggers installed in this thing, and so both sides were just going off like full auto. It just burned through ammo so quickly that way I couldn't afford it, Now, there's not that many pros to this gun. I do like it just because of its uniqueness, but it's uncomfortable to shoot. It's incredibly heavy. It doesn't help that it has 2 barrels and a steel plate up here that helps kind of aim the barrels for you. It's so heavy, and it's in the front of the rifle, which adds a lot of weight to hold up. In the back, it's not so bad. There are 2 buffer tubes and buffer springs and 2 bolt carrier groups in here, but you do save a little bit of weight because it's in one chassis or one platform. Nonetheless, it is incredibly difficult to hold up for prolonged periods of time, but it can be so much fun to shoot, and it gets a lot of attention at the range. Here is the new AK. Now, I called this thing an AK-47 on the last video, and man, you guys lost your minds. I guess it's not an AK-47. I'm not much of an AK guy, but when I saw this thing at my local gun shop, I just had to get it. In fact, I didn't get it the first time I saw it, but all I could think about the entire week was going back and getting this bad boy. So what I like about this AK is it has this tactical, modern vibe to it. I love this buttstock. The cool thing about it is it's highly adjustable. You can adjust the length on this thing to fit your shoulder, but also your cheek. This goes up and down to help you get a good aim on sight. Now, what I don't like, if anything, is for this big of a caliber, this big of a round, that's putting a lot of recoil right there in a very small portion. When I square up, it's right there in the crack of my shoulder, which is fine. But compared to a normal AR-15, you have a lot bigger surface area to kind of help negate some of that recoil. Now, the front, this rail in the front, from what I understand, you can no longer get these things. They were produced in Ukraine. The Ukrainians, they bombed their own plant that produces these things because they didn't want Russia to get a hold of them. So temporarily, these things are one of a kind. You cannot get another rifle in this same configuration. Now, I just threw a cheap optic on there. It fits the feel of this rifle, so I kind of like it, but let me know what you guys think. Oof, I think in the number 3 spot has got to be the big boy Henry X Tactical. This thing is awesome. I'm not much of a lever action guy, but when I saw this one in this kind of a configuration, I also just had to have it. Now, I probably say that a lot, and that's because I get jealous when other guys have guns that I want. So I spend all my free time looking on where I can get this thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy one in this exact configuration, so I had to buy the big boy Henry Tactical and then get all the extra parts and build it myself. Now, these parts were pretty easy to acquire. It's a company called Ranger Point Precision. You can go online and see if they're in stock. If they're not, you give them their email, you're on a waiting list, and they'll email you as soon as they do come back in stock. I think it took me about 2 weeks to get that email, and then I went ahead and ordered both the buttstock and this rail. Now, this grip right here is just a mag pull. I like these grips, they're comfortable for me, but some people don't like them. It just kind of depends. I've seen some vertical grips on these things to get more of a vertical kind of a feel to it, but for me, I like the horizontal angled foregrip. What makes this thing kind of cool is how it has these ammo quivers. Now, usually in the front, you have a quiver that holds 2 rounds, but I wanted to maximize how many rounds my rifle could hold. And so I think there's 6 each. Yeah, there's 6 here. So it's 12 total rounds. Plus you can put quite a few in the actual rifle itself. Again, I don't usually like lever actions, but this thing is just sick. Now, I don't normally like lever actions, but this thing is just awesome. I can't decide which is my favorite rifle I bought this year. I'm torn between the SCAR 20S and the new Sig Sauer Spear. But I want to walk you guys through this rifle first. So this is the SCAR, the FN SCAR 20S. I usually don't like SCARs. In fact, I think they're kind of ugly. I don't like that big traditional boot for like their buttstock. But when I saw this 20S that had this kind of a configuration, I fell in love. It just looks so clean to me, and it's a lot more practical and a lot more useful when I'm trying to shoot long distance. So this platform is meant to go long range, but you can also do something a little bit shorter. I threw on an Atlas bipod just because I love the stability. I love the looks of those Atlas bipods. They are nice. Super clean cuts, very practical, easy to use. You can do any kind of configuration you want. I usually like to kind of lean it forward like that and put some weight into the rifle as I'm shooting prone, just to kind of stabilize it a little bit more. I did throw on a Night Force optics. This is nothing special. It's just a 2.5 by 20, I believe. But for this setup, it does the job well. I love Night Force optics. I know that I shouldn't love the gun for the optic, but with this combo, man, I can really stretch this thing out and shoot to 1,500 yards, no problem. In fact, I don't even think it's the rifle or the optics that I have a problem shooting past 1,500 yards. It's the caliber. This SCAR 20S is chambered in .308, and that is a tough round to push out that far and to do it accurately. If this was in a 6.5 Creedmoor, sure, no problem. The reason why I went with a .308 versus a 6.5 Creedmoor is because this is a battle rifle. I wanted to keep it in more of a military caliber. So the other rifle in my top 2 positions is the Sig Sauer Spear. This is the MCX. This rifle just came out in the market in 2022, and it was very hard to track down one. This one's actually chambered in the 7.62 by 39, or like the AK round. I love this rifle. I love how it feels. I love how it looks. I love how it shoots. It is pretty dang accurate for, again, a semi-auto platform. Very, very accurate. I love this stock. I love that it can collapse and tuck away, and now I can put this thing in a smaller range bag. I don't have to bring out my big, long, rifle boxes. I can put this thing in one of my smaller AR-15 pistol bags and take it to the range with me. What I probably love most about this rifle is the features that most rifles like this don't have. In this case, it is a bolt release on the side of the rifle. Usually you have that on the back side, traditionally with an AR-15 or an AR-15 type platform. You smack this thing on the side and your bolt will be released. Here, there's a little lever right here. Let me show you what that looks like. My bolt is locked back right here, and normally you'd have to hit the button on this left side. Sometimes you can get something that is ambi. However, right here with my trigger finger, I can release the magazine, I can pull the trigger, and I can also release the bolt. I love that. Speaking of the trigger, I love this trigger. I don't know if you guys can see, it has like this straight drop down trigger with a slight curve at the bottom of it. So it feels so different than my traditional triggers in most AR-15s, or if you were to get a aftermarket trigger, it has more of a straight line to it, kind of like in my Gilboa Snake right here. These are 2 aftermarket triggers. They just drop straight down, but your finger can kind of slide off or you don't get a good grip on it. In this Sig Sauer Spear, this trigger seriously just fits my finger so well. This the whole gun does. I love the grip, I love the trigger, I love the new features to it. I love the look. I think it looks fantastic. I love things in FDE. As you can tell, I have a lot of rifles in FDE, but this is definitely my top 2 favorite. The reason why I can't pick a single favorite, and maybe you guys can help me out, is because I use these rifles for 2 different purposes. If I'm trying to shoot long range and do so accurately, I want to hit the SCAR. If I'm just trying to have fun at the range and shoot, out to maybe 100 yards, I'm taking the Spear. And so they serve two different purposes, but I love them both. I just can't decide which one is my favorite. Maybe you guys can let me know. I'll keep it till the day I die.
I think this is your favorite rifle that you...
You think so?
I think this is your
Yeah, but if I'm shooting with the SCAR long range, dude, like, sometimes I like just getting out there and shooting out 1,000 yards. Like, a spear can't do that. This is for close quarters. But I love how versatile this is, where I can go out, shoot 1,000 yards, dial it back, and go shoot 20 yards, you know? This is an awesome platform. So obviously I think they're my favorite for two different purposes. And this one's just newer. I've had the SCAR for a while. When I first bought the SCAR, man, this thing was in bed with me. Like, I did not let this thing out of my sight, dude. Like, it was everywhere I went, dude. I just was walking around my house, just like, just chilling, dude.
Your kid's just like,
Yeah.